the recording. Why should be we wanted to know about these particular exceptions and errors. Whenever I told this exception to even my the team members, so I used to tell one particular story. There is a big yacht. There is a big cruise. This is one of the inspiring means we do have some inspiring stories. So from there, I just read about this story. I just wanted to let you know. This particular cruise have a big repair, and that guy, the owner of that particular cruise, bring many people to fix that particular cruise. Many people came and then they spent lots and lots of time, but the issue was not fixed. And then he spent lots of money because that's his favorite cruise for the whatever the reason. He got it at a gift from his wife, so he wanted to keep that one, and then he don't wanted to lose it. At this point of time, so he called the most famous guys, all the people in that particular complete country, and then he waited for them to come and fix this particular issue. None of the people were able to fix that. Then one old guy who is 90 plus years experience, he just came and he was not able to carry his toolbox also. He just walked into the yacht, and then this guy, the owner, was sitting so sad, and then he went to him and then he asked, I can go and fix this one. He just laughed and said that, boss, many of the people came and it didn't fix, but still I don't wanted to lose any hope from you. So if you wanted to go try, and then go and try if you are able to do this. Even though he don't have a confidence that he can fix the boat, but still he don't wanted to miss that particular hope. This old man went throughout the cruise, and then he completely observed and inspected all the things, and he just went there. And this man was sitting, and then he was just observing this old man what he's trying to do there. And he taken a big hammer, and then he was not able to carry that hammer too, and he seen one particular spot, and he just marked with the marker, and then he hit 3 times on that particular mark, and immediately it gets started. And this guy was surprised, and he was yelling, and he was so happy, and then he just asked him the bill. So then he said it taken $10,000. So then he was surprised. Can you give me the detailing of this particular bill? So usually we will also ask, right? If someone has been given a more bill, so we will be asking them what means why this much of bill. Then he told that, see, sir, $9,999 is to identify the problem, and $1 to hit 3 times with the hammer. That is the detailed billing he has been given. He was surprised, but still he was so happy that the hatch was repaired, because the cost of even that particular cruise is not that much worth, but still he need to pay for that. So why I told this particular statement, the moral of this particular story, identification of the problem is the most important thing rather than fixing. Because if you identify the right problem, giving a fix is not a big deal. But if you're not able to identify that particular problem, you can't give the fix at all. So always you should remember that. So what is a problem? So you need to understand. Without understanding that particular problem, if you wanted to give the solutions, you will never get the problem fixed upon. So you should see, you'll have a lock, but you need to give, means you have 100 keys with you, but only one key will fit for that. So you need to analyze which key will fit to this particular lock. The same way, we will have 100 exceptions, and you take the wrong key, and then you're trying to open the lock. You are trying for hours and hours. Can you open the lock? Probably not. So if you take the means, if you analyze that particular problem and understand why this particular problem is coming arised, and getting that particular key name and the lock number, so just open with that one, means just analyzing that and opening, how much time it taken for you people. So that is where many of the engineers, especially the test automation engineers, they will not understand what is the problem. Just they will spend hours and hours of time on the exceptions immediately. Whenever you get a particular problem, so they will, "Oh, okay, I got the exception, it was the test case is failed and I don't know what to proceed further." See, even you go for 10 to 15 years or 20 years experience, guys, or whomever it might be, even if you come to me also, I will not everything on in handy. So if you give me error, I'll take that error, put into the Google, and I'll open the Stack Overflow and I'll read it and I'll give the solution. That's it. See, the same thing you also can do it, right? So always before asking someone, just you need to do a try. And before asking someone, you need to do your own homework. Then only it will you should ask. Don't be lazy. Don't be hasty, and then don't get feared of that particular use. It means you are not the first one into this particular problem or into the industry. There are some thousands and lakhs of people who are in the industry who already sorry who already was faced these particular problems, and many means whatever the problem, see, 99% of your issues will be having the answers in the Google. Just you need to go spend some time, understand the problem, and then give the fix. And many of the times when we are running the program, immediately if not run, once again we will try to rerun it without giving any fix or without changing any code. How the problem will be fixed out? If you made a single line change, then you rerun it, it's okay. But without making anything, how we can rerun it? Sometimes it may be possible, but not for every time this will work. So always you look at it, pinpoint the problem, where exactly the problem is there, and then analyze that particular problem and search for that particular problem, and then you can get the solutions. And exactly, we do have 43 issues in Selenium. So if you understand this particular 43 solutions, if some issue is coming, you no need to worry about it, because you know already, if this is the issue, then this is what the solution. But if you don't know this one, without knowing these particular exceptions, see, exceptions are inevitable. Definitely you'll get that issues. But when you get that particular issue, so how you need to react is the most important thing. But see, now for an example, I'm getting a fire, means then what I'll try to do, I'll take a wet cloth and then I'll just wanted to put it. So when there is a water flow, then I wanted to evacuate from there, and then I just wanted to go into a safer place. See, every problem will have their own solution. One solution will be not common for all the problems, right? So now every exception will have some solution, but not means every exception will have the same common solutions. So first you need to understand what is a problem and what would be the solution. So if you have been prepared, means fully before that, see now, there is a doctor, so the doctor would be trained on the complete things. Okay, if it is a heart attack, so these are the precautionary the pre steps which you need to take it. So you need to check this oxypulsimeter, and then you need to pump the heart, you need to do this and you need to do that. And if it is a road accident, so next this is the steps you need to do it. So every problem comes up with own solution. So always you need to think about that particular thing. So first of all, you need to be trained on what are the problems. So if this particular problem arises, what would be the possible solutions? So if you understand this one, so tomorrow you suddenly get an heart patient, you can handle him. If tomorrow if you get a leg injury, you can handle him. If you are tomorrow you get it an another road accident, you can handle him, because you know already if this case comes, this is what the solution. But you don't know anything. I just kept you into the EC, means if at all I've taken you directly and then keep you into the ICU, and then I ask you to handle. So suddenly a heart attack person came. Now what you'll do? Okay, just give me 1 second. I'll go to the Google. I'll search and I'll give the solution for this one. If a heart patient comes, then what are the symptoms he will be getting it, and what are the things I need to do a treatment for this? Will you check there? Will the time come? The time will be limited, and will that particular problem will be sorted out? So that is the reason. So always you should know about the before itself, what are the exceptions available in the Selenium and how we need to do it, and where the respective documentations I should refer it. So these are the things which you need to do it for today. So this is the basic intro. Why should we do for the Selenium exceptions? And actually, previously I didn't given this particular Selenium exceptions in detail. That's the reason we don't even have the video. So that's where I just wanted that one in detail. So here, what are means the list of exceptions we will be going through this. Before this one, we will be having a good debate. So now this will help me out like a quick rapid fire round on the exceptions, because we completed the exceptions topic in detail. We guys are implemented all these things right now. Before starting the Selenium exceptions, we should know about the exceptions, and then quick recap on Java exceptions. Okay, so now we can check that. And the next one, the list of the Selenium exceptions. Okay, not all exceptions we can go through that. At least minimum few exceptions we will go through that, and then we will see how detailed it is. And the documentation, so we will look at into the documentation and how we need to read through these documentations. Means here we will be talking about official documentations. We will go through the Java official, means the Selenium Java official documentation, so how you need to read that and how you need to understand that. So this one, and then we do have other things like the Guru 99. So those materials also you need to verify this. All the things are available on the internet, so nothing more specifically we need to share that or create that one. So just give me a second. So these are the topics which we will be covering for the next 45 minutes. Okay, so first this part we have given the basic introduction on the Selenium or whatever the exceptions we have been discussed. And I hope we do have a 1 hour to 2 hours of session which we have been given previously when we are talking about the Java exceptions, but it was purely from the Java we have been discussed. So now we are going to discuss from the Selenium perspective view. So now, first of all, we wanted to give a quick recap on this particular Java point of view. Okay. Now, can you tell me what is the hierarchy of this particular exceptions? Okay, Sandhya, you wanted to go ahead. What is a hierarchy of the exceptions?
Throwable.
What is a super class of throwables? A super class for any. See now for exceptions, the
Super class is a throwable.
Okay.
For throwable exception and error we have, sir.
Okay.
In exception, compile time and runtime exception.
Okay.
In error, stack overflow error, virtual machine error, out of memory error.
Okay.
In runtime exceptions, we are having arithmetic exceptions, null pointer exceptions, number format exceptions, index out of bounds exceptions.
Excellent. Excellent, Sandhya. So can anyone say that what is a super class for any class?
Object.
Object is a super class for any. Means even for the arrays, you take anything into this particular thing. The super class is object. But when it comes to the super class of the exceptions, throwable. So throwable is a grandparent, and then it have two sons. One is exceptions and one is errors. So when it comes to the exceptions, you'll be having two categories of exceptions. One is runtime exception, and another one is a checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. Checked exceptions are called as compile time exceptions. Unchecked exceptions are called as runtime exceptions. And we do have the list of exceptions. Okay, I got it. Now, how to handle the exceptions, Nazima?
By using weights.
Handling exceptions. So how you handle the exceptions?
We can put it in through try catch block.
Means what are the ways to handle? So we have try catch block.
We can have try catch.
Try catch, throw, finally throws.
Excellent. There are 5 ways to do this one. We do have try, catch, throw, throws, and finally. So these are the 5 different ways to handle our exceptions. So guys, because if you don't understand this Java exceptions, we can't do this one. So that's a reason always you should be keep on mind. So when we are taking an exceptions means, so previously you should go back and then read about the Java exceptions, which we have been done. So for learning the Selenium exceptions, the prerequisite for this one is a Java exceptions itself. So now we know what is an exception. So, okay, before going to that one, talking about this, what do you meant by an exception, Gayatri?
Exception is an abnormal condition and it disrupts the normal flow of programs.
Excellent, Sanya. But I was waiting the answer from Gayatri. Yeah, Gayatri. Okay, so the exception is nothing but it's a sudden interruption. See now, for an example, I'm going in means the same example. I think so. When I explaining the exceptions I have been given, I'm going in a car. Suddenly, my car got punctured. So this is one exception. So any means unintentional or sudden interruption in our flow. If we get that one, then that is called an exception, or any deviation is called an exception. For an example, there are 10 lines of code and suddenly one line of code has been failed. So that is what an exception. Now, if we got this particular exception, how to handle this particular exception, we do have 5 approaches or 5 ways to do this. So now here in this particular 5 ways, I'll be seeing multiple means like a try, catch, throws, and then we will be having finally. So with the help of these particular concepts, we can handle the exceptions, right? So now means I don't want to get into the details of more of this one, because we do have means 1.5 to 2 hours of sessions are we have been recorded on this one. So go back and then just recap this particular Java exceptions. Then you might be having the doubt, Chris, you are telling me means you wanted to talk about the Selenium exceptions. Then why you're talking about the Java exceptions here? So because means don't we have the direct exceptions in the Selenium? Yes, we do have, but for all the mother is only one, which is the exceptions. Means if you see the hierarchy, if you go to the documentation parts also, uh, for an example, take the WebDriver. Okay, this is a WebDriver exception, right? So the WebDriver exception was coming from the Selenium. Okay, so from this particular, so now we can see it org OpenQoS Selenium. So this is what the Selenium. And guys, I'm not referring to any local articles. So these are from the official documentation. So it means you can strongly follow this particular thing. Okay. Now, if you see here, when means from the Selenium package, you do have WebDriver exception. So now into the WebDriver exception. So with this particular WebDriver exception was implemented into all these particular classes. If you see here, many of the exceptions you'll be getting it. No such element, no found element, the screenshot exceptions, timeout exceptions. So anyways, we will see how many things you'll get it. But most prominently, whenever you see it, you'll get the stale element reference exception, and you'll be getting no such session element no such session exception is there. Like this, we'll have anyways. We'll come back to the top 10 at least out of 43. At least we can take top 10 exceptions and then we can read through that. Now, if you see here, one of means the most important exception is a WebDriver exception, right? So when you have this particular WebDriver exception, so WebDriver exception is a, what is that? Is an interface or is a class or what is that?
Interface.
Huh?
Interface.
Interface.
Madam, I am asking WebDriver exception.
Is a
I was
class.
giving an answer here and then I was asking you the question. So this is a class. I'm not asking what is a WebDriver. I'm asking WebDriver exception. So we need to be so cautious. WebDriver is an interface. WebDriver exception is a class. Now this particular class, if you see the hierarchy, so the parent is object. Next, the grandparent is the ancestor. The ancestors is an object and grandparent is throwable, and we have exception. And in the runtime exception, we will be having the WebDriver exceptions. Okay, so now in the WebDriver exceptions, so these all methods are available. Add info, add additional info, and get driver name, get message, get supported URL, get systems, like this. So these all methods are available from the WebDriver exception. So now into this particular WebDriver exception, so these all exceptions are called. Okay, now anyways, we will come to this particular documentation at last and then try to understand what are the top 10 exceptions which we need to discuss from the Selenium. Let's come over here and then see the how it has been written. So actually just before the session, I just opened and seen how they have been written. So if you see here, this article is from the software testing help. So you know about this forum. So this is the most activist forum from the testing perspective. Okay, so here they mention what is an exception. So this is what we have been means already we have been discussed. If there is any particular interruption or deviation from our flow, so then that is called as an exception. And how we will handle that particular exception. So with the help of the try catch blocks and all these things we have been discussed. Now, first of all, they wanted to talk from the Java perspective. What is the hierarchy? So this is the throwable. So from the throwable, so we will be having the exception and errors, and then from the checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions from the exceptions. So now into the unchecked exceptions, which is a runtime exceptions, we will be having it. And how to handle these particular exceptions? So hope we already discussed about the try catch blocks and finally block and throw block, throwables block, and all these things we have been used it. Now, if you see here, this is what the hierarchy they are trying to explain about it. So now how these particular exceptions are linked with the Java exceptions. Now, if you see here, so now the Java runtime exceptions means these all classify under this particular Java runtime exceptions. And if you see here, all runtime exceptions in Selenium WebDriver, this is the most important pointer under the super class of the WebDriver exception. So now you understood, right? WebDriver exception is a super class for all the exceptions. Okay, now as it's a WebDriver exception is a super class. Now under the runtime exception, so now that's the reason I just shown you the hierarchy to understand very clearly. So ancestor, my grandfathers and fathers, and then runtime exceptions, and under the runtime exceptions you'll be getting this. So this is what I just wanted to show you over here. Okay, so now means I told you, right, there is a big list of these particular exceptions which is you can get it from this particular notes. There are 43 exceptions from the Selenium perspective overall. If you understand this particular 43, none of the exception will go out of this particular exceptions. You can see whatever you wanted to see, all the things you can get it. See, no such element exception happens if element couldn't be found. See, you can take anything. So into this particular site, you can see all these things over here. So anyways, I'll share you this particular thing. So here I'll be writing that from this one, total 43 except. Actually, we prepared the documentation also on this one, but still you can just refer it. So you can have this one. Okay. And the basic intro also, you can get it from this particular site, Guru. Oh, this is from the software 99. Okay. So here also I'll be keeping this link. Okay. Now, when you're working with a Selenium, these are the most prominent exceptions you'll get it. So whoever was already experienced and who are working on, you can see by seeing this one, you can understand no such element exists, no such window exists, no such frame exists, no alert present exception, invalid selectors exception, element not visible exception, element not selectable exceptions, and timeout exceptions, no such session exceptions, and stale element reference exception. So if means these are the most prominent. So if you do the Selenium program and there are some connection issue also, we will be encountering it that it was not here, but connection refused. So those are the few issues you might encounter, but based upon your problem statement, you can understand. See guys, if I wanted to know whether this guy is a real means the people nowadays, it was very frequently they can claim themselves as automation engineers. I told you, right? Recently, I have done more than 650 to 750 interviews in the span of 3 to 4 months, because that much of resource crunches are there for our organizations. So when I was doing it, so how I can easily tile the people or toss the people by, means how I can know that this is a genuine experience or the fake experience, with the basic terminologies we can identify. See, if he has been a real-time experience with a one simple question, so what this exception, how you handle this? That's it. See, because without these particular 10 exceptions, you can't work with the Selenium. So why I concentrated, means why I'm asking this as an, means why I'm claiming this as an important session, because if you able to tell me why this exception, what is the answer for this one, then I can clearly understand that you do have a real-time experience. Because when you worked, you'll get the problem. Without problem, you'll not go through that. That's for sure. That, as I told you, it is inevitable. You will face the problems. You will get the problem. When you get the problem, we need to get the solutions. So means this is what the basic strategy of any interviewer, any technical interviewer, if they wanted to do it. So first they will touch up with the exceptions, because if you're a real-time experience guy, they will, means you will be getting the problem and then you'll be sorting out that particular problem. So if you're a fake guy, so definitely you can't talk about it. You will give only the theoretical definition of this, or you may not even know about this one. So that is how the people will easily toss and get the answers and then evaluate the people easily. So that's what I was giving you this particular tip. So always you should know about the challenges. You know, this would be posed in a different question to the people. What are the challenges you faced in the while doing the automation? See, they might don't know the list of the things, but they wanted to understand this. So if any technical guy is there, now tell me what is a stale reference element. So what is that? Why you get this error? How you will fix this one? What are the possible ways you can do it? And yesterday also I talked about it. So if you get an explicit wait, what are the different type of exceptions you will get it? None of the people answered me this question. So if you should know if there is something mistake in the explicit wait, so these are the errors it will come. And if we get this particular errors, these are the solutions we need to do it. So that's where your debugging time will reduce drastically. If you don't understand the exceptions, or if you don't know the problems and the solutions of this, so your debugging time will drastically increase about this. So that's the reason you should know what are the problems and what are the respective solutions for that particular problems. Okay, so now by this, we came till near how the Selenium exceptions are tagged back to the Java exceptions. Now, so all these are under the runtime exception, because when you are executing it, you will get these particular issues. So that's the reason it called as a runtime exceptions. Okay, now this was classified into the unchecked exceptions, whereas runtime exceptions, in the runtime exceptions, you have the Selenium exception. Selenium exception superclass is a WebDriver exception. Under this particular WebDriver exceptions, we do have multiple classes, and these all also classes. No such element exception, this is a class. No such window exception, this is a class. All these are classes. You remember arithmetic exception, array index bound of exception. So those all also classes. So these are the subclasses which it has been means extended the respective the parent classes. Got it? So now under this particular 10 exceptions, as we mean, as the time will not permit for going for each and every exception, that you need to go through that. So now what you need to do is, so just you need to understand what are the different 10 exceptions which you'll be getting throughout here. So now if you see, the first exception is no such element exception. This is the most frequent and prominent exception when you try to write the Selenium code. So you've seen here, right? The first exception is element not visible exception. If you see, they have been defined it in a single word. I don't need to explain that one. You can easily understand. Selenium tries to find an element, but the element is not visible in the page. See, they are trying to check for the visibility. So where we will use this particular condition? Anyone
Is
can answer?
displayed.
In
Is
explicit
displayed.
Excellent. In the explicit wait, we will be using this particular condition. So for that particular means is element present. So or at that means sorry, is element is visible. So when we have been given, so at that point of time, so this error will be thrown. So yesterday I told, right? So we will be getting 4 exceptions from the WebDriver. So this is what one of the exception which we will be getting over here. So if Selenium tries to find an element, but the element is not visible. So you need to understand. See, always testing will have the self-explanatory terminology, and they made the life very easy. Here you can understand that element not visible exception, not visible. So we can easily understand. So that element is not, see now I'm trying to look at that element, but the element is not visible over there. So what is a cause for this one? Anyone can say this? What would be the root cause for this?
Sir, it takes more time to.
Excellent. So it's a synchronization issue. So if you are trying, means now I click the login button, means I entered the credentials, I click the login button, I wanted to go to the home page, but in the home page I wanted to validate the welcome text, but it was not navigated to the home page, and then the element is not visible. So then I can say that element is not visible. So this is what the WebDriver issue. So WebDriver is we are keeping for the synchronization. So where we wanted to keep it. So that's how you need to connect the dots. So you understand why we talked about the waits previous, why we talked about the exception previous, and why we talking last about this particular exceptions. So this is the reason you need to connect all your dots. Okay, if I don't do that, so this is the problem comes. Then what means this is what the solution I need to applicable over there. So what is the solution for this one? I need to increase the time, and then I need to record for that. I'm sorry. So this is how you need to identify that. And the next one, no alert present exception. It's very simple. The user tries to handle an alert box, but alert is not present. So we are trying to handle that particular alert box, but the alert is not there. So how can you handle that? No chance. Now, no such attribute exception. While getting the attribute, okay, can anyone say this means where this particular, I'm sorry. So where this exception will rise for us? You guys has been implemented this. No such attribute exception. Guys, what happened?
For text box, if we want to get that value, generally we'll use that
Excellent, excellent. You are using the method called get attribute, right? So get attribute value, you are using it. So if you don't have that particular values, means if that particular attribute is not existed, then we will be getting no such attribute exception. See now what it was trying to do in the DOM. So in the document object model. So now when you are trying for means a particular attribute value, and that particular attribute value is not present over there, then obviously you'll not get that. That's it, right? So this is what no such attribute exception. And the most very frequent exception, no such element exception. So this exception is due to the accessing of the element which is not available on the page. Why this error will comes into the picture? What is the root cause of this?
For example, if any element is present inside the frame, that time we need to switch to frame and then only we can access. If we simply usual, if we put that click means, then it will not identify. In that cases, we'll get that
so I
element.
think you are telling your real-time experience, Dharani. Yes, it is. Means it is not only into the frame. See now you are saying that means all applications are not considered into means created in the frames, right? So when it tries for a particular element and then that particular element is not available on the DOM, then that is where it throws the no such element exception. See, when you are seeing your console, if you see this particular error, then you need to understand, okay, this particular object is not present in the DOM. So now I need to make this particular object into the present in. So then this is a synchronization issue. So I need to sync up. So this is one of the exception which is common for all the synchronizations. Like implicit wait, we have this issue, and explicit wait, we have this issue, and fluent wait, we'll have this issue. So in the fluent wait, we wanted to ignore, right? You can ignore with this exception. So no such element exception is the most commonest thing which we will encounter. So no such element exception. So when the no such element exception is, so how you need to debug if you have this particular exception?
by fluent wait.
By increasing the implicit wait
Increasing the
time or
time.
the duration.
Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. So you guys are not following me. What it means, if you have no such element exception, what is the first thing we need to do it? What are the basic thumb rules we have to follow if an element is not available in the DOM?
Change the export.
Change the element.
We shouldn't change the element. We should change the XPath of the element. So why guys, we discussed about this one, right? If any particular object is not available, means if you're throwing some no such exception, means that particular element is not present in the web page, means that particular object is not identified in that particular web page. So now what we need to do? So first we need to check the XPath. So now we do have 16 approaches to follow, means identify that particular XPath, normal XPath, advanced XPath. In the advanced XPath, adding multiple XPaths, means multiple attributes for this with the help of an AND operator. Then if it is not possible, indexing operator, and then containing text operators, and adding multiple operators. And then if it is not possible, then going for the parent and sibling XPaths, and parent and sibling XPaths is also identified. So now from the root cause of the XPaths, if it is unique, we will be identified. Okay, now I'm pretty sure that there is no problem in the XPath because I'm able to identify this particular uniquely. Now the next option is the 9 means the 80-20 we discussed, right? So 80% because of the XPaths it's failed, and the 20% of because of the action methods. So now I'll be using with the click. If it is click is not working, then I'll be going for the action class. If action class is not working, then I will go for the JavaScript executor. If JavaScript executor is not working, then I'll go for the robot class. If it is not working, then
Contact to developer.
Contact
thank
to
you, the
developer.
developer boss. This is your problem.
JavaScript executor.
JavaScript before means the last previous check is JavaScript executor. After that one, we should go for the robot class, because robot class is a dumb. So just it will tab, click, tab, enter, tab, down key, up key, whatever the keyboard strokes you do have it. So those things are called, so the robot class strokes. So when you have this particular robot class strokes, so that is dumb. They don't know anything. And that is a blunt way of doing the scripting. So we shouldn't do that one, but that in no way chances we need to go for this. But still we need to complain back to the developer boss. This is your implementation, which you need to do it. Okay, so that is what the no such element means. If at all, see, you should know the debugging procedures and approaches. If you don't know, you will struggle like anything. That's where, see, many of the people who entered into the project, they will not able to handle because they were not able to handle the exceptions. So that's the reason you should first understand how to handle the exceptions. Then you can, it would be a cakewalk for you people. But if you see, you need to get struggle, then only you will learn hard. If you are having everything easy, then you can't learn anything. Whenever you're having a hard, tough race to run, then if you run and win that particular tough race, whatever the easy races are there, that would be a cakewalk for you. But if you had only you wanted to try on the easy races, and then when you go for a tough race, always the toughies will be tough. So all this is on your mindset. Okay. Okay, I don't want to deviate. Come back to the session. Okay, now there's no such element exception we have been discussed. And now we do have WebDriver exceptions. So this exception will, it is when it is not able to the initialize the WebDriver. When this will become, in which situations we'll get this one? Anyone can guess? The name itself, it was very clear, WebDriver exception. Exceptions comes enable.
Driver is not initialized.
Yes, the basic problem, what it will happen is, usually WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver. So that initialization, we will do it in a different patterns. Some people will declare that as a global variable, WebDriver driver, and in another line, they will define it as a driver equal to new Chrome driver. And when they are calling it, so the driver would be an orphan. So at that point of time, you'll be getting this WebDriver exception. So when you got the WebDriver exception, you should know that, okay, there is an initialization problem. So especially when you guys are working with the POM, page object model. So because you created the multiple pages and then you're calling into the multiple pages on this particular driver object. So where you'll be getting this WebDriver exception more frequently. See how we will know this based on experience. So you should know when these exceptions will be coming means, so see immediately, but this whatever the things which I'm saying, these are completely involuntarily I'm saying it, because many a times I suffered in the page object model. So every time I used to get this WebDriver exception, I used to bang my head, what is this exception? Then I realized, okay, I shouldn't do in that way. So this is the way I should do it. And whatever the things which I'm saying, this is on based on my experiences. So how much time you believe it or not, I'm also so lazy, and then means I will not go through the documentation. I'll never open the Java documentation when I was starting to read, but I used to spend tons and tons of the time. Then later on I realized, okay, this is not the right way of learning. So then once I changed, so all the things will be placed into the picture. Many of the students also, means many of the people, even now if they are working, so they will not go through the exceptions, directly jump into the programs, which it shouldn't be done. Okay, fine. Now come back here. Now what this means, this particular section talks is avoiding and handling this particular common exceptions. Now we do have this particular 10 exceptions. So how we need to avoid these particular exceptions and how we can handle these particular exceptions. So that is what they are trying to discuss. Now if you see here, this no such element exception, what is this? Is it a class, or is it an interface, or is it a what? What
It's
is
a
that?
class.
It's a
Class.
class. Now from where you will be getting this particular class? So now if you see here, we'll have this particular class from the Selenium, from the Selenium. So you need to understand these particular things very carefully. So you need to go to that respective packages. In that particular packages, you can see what is in detail about this one. So if you see here, exception summary. Okay, you need to just click on the packages. You'll be getting this particular exception summary. In this particular exception summary, so this is official documentation, guys. Once again, I'm saying that this is from the Selenium documentation. This is not given by me or anyone else. So you can strongly believe this particular thing. So now you can see here, what are the exceptions you will be having it. So how clearly they have been given, but none of the people will open this. That is what the fate. So now you come to this particular exception summary and see element clicked intercepted, element not interactable. So you can have a very clear information. See now even this particular error is also most common. So now it is not interactable exception. What is no such element exception? What is element not interactable exceptions? So now if you see here, thrown to indicate that although an element is present in DOM, it is not in state that can be interacted. So now you can have the differences, right? No such element means that element itself, it's not present in the DOM. But whereas in the element not interactable exception, this element is present in the DOM, but it is not interactable. See how easy to understand? But if without understanding this one, if you go and just read this particular exception, you will bang and then you'll keep into the Google, you'll not even understand that. So that's where to learn basics, it will help you a lot to understand these particular problems. Now you just see, now you are saying that element clickable, click intercepted exception. So indicates that click couldn't not properly executed because of the target element is obscured in some way. So it is not identified in some way. So that's where we are not able to click on this particular element. So
Chris, I have a doubt. The second one, it is not in a state that can be interacted with. What is the meaning of that?
State means, for an example, for a few elements are there that would be enabled or disabled. See now, if the element is enabled, then only you can click on that, right? See, for an example, you entered the username password, then only the login button would be enabled. Till that particular point of time, that would be disabled.
Okay.
So, but you entered username and password, immediately you try to click on it. Till now, that is not enabled. See, that is an application performance issue, right? You entered your username, entered your password, and the login button has to enable so that you can click on login button and then you can go to the home page. But you enter these both credentials, but still the login button is not enabled. It was taking some more time to enable. In the meantime, Selenium went and clicked on it. Then what is the solution you will be giving over there?
Wait.
Simple, right? Means the explicit wait, or we can have some more methods called is enabled method. Direct methods are available. Is enabled, in which interface we have this method? Is enabled, is disabled.
Web.
Web element interface. In the web element interface, we have these methods. Okay, so now element is not selectable. Can you tell me in which situation you'll get this exception? Guys, you shouldn't take this much of time.
When it is disabled, like if any button is disabled, you are not able to select that.
No, Ruma, you understand the exception. The element not selectable.
Checkbox related.
Boss, drop down.
Sorry, drop down. Okay.
In the drop down, it means where you are going to select, where you are using your select class. In the drop down, right? So how many methods are there in the select class?
6 or 7.
Seven methods are there.
7.
So by index, by value. So now when you have these particular methods, if you are not able to select particular object, so this is the exception you'll be getting at, right? And then element not visible. So this is what we have been discussed previous. So if in the DOM, if the element is not visible, and if it is not visible, you can't even interact with that. So those are called element not visible exceptions. And activation failures and these things you may not get very frequent. Okay, this is also not means okay, no alert, no such context exception, no
We'll
cookies.
get no such frame exception.
You'll have that one also. See, no frame exception. So okay, when you'll get this particular exception?
When that frame is not present and you are trying to identify with a wrong eye locator.
See, there are two options. As you said, if you're means we'll be having a frames, right? So this is what in the real-time solutions which you need to see it. So it was trying to switch to that particular frame, but that frame is not available. That one, or the locator of that particular frame is wrong. In that particular cases, you'll be getting that no such frame exceptions. Got it?
Yeah.
And the next one is no session exception. This session means this is for WebDriver session. Always you should remember that the driver object, when it was created, so then the session has been created. So that is the session starting. And when the driver was closed or quit, then the session would be closed. So now this session means no such no such session exception will throws by this particular command when you're trying to close something which is not there. So at that point of time, we'll be getting that no such exception, no such window exception. So you are trying to go for a window with, if the window is not there, then this particular thing will be thrown for us. And no found exception, script timeout exception. These things will be for the latest browsers, for means especially for the Angular applications or the React.js applications or Vue.js applications. This is the most frequent time because there will be having the asynchronous synchronous calls are there. Okay, I don't want to get confused. This is the most for the prominent latest browsers. You'll be getting the script or timeout exceptions. Maybe it may not be required. Means if you're doing it for the latest browsers, definitely you will be getting it. You should know that too. But you need to know the concept of synchronization and asynchronization concept so that you can understand it very well. If you want details, I can explain you about it, but it's up to you. Okay, so the next one is a session not created exception. So now where this exception will be, you'll be getting it. Boss, what is meant by WebDriver? I'm asking you where you will get this exception.
In the application,
Before initializing the WebDriver.
That's not, if at all the WebDriver is not initialized, then you're trying to access, then you will get the session not created exception. I was saying the same thing here, right? If you don't have the session, if you're closing that session, you'll get no such session exception. If session not created, the name itself, it was green, right? Just think some logical, not too much. This is not a rocket science at all. So it was clearly saying that session not created exception. So the session itself, it's not created. Okay, now what means this is a most frequent error which you'll be getting it all. So you have to be so cautious on this. So stale element reference exception. What do you mean by this?
Whenever you refresh a page, so that time the locator will change. So it will try to identify, that time we'll get this.
Okay. So any
got
more
this
better
issue.
answers?
I got this issue recently. I am in one page, I'm accessing the element, and again I moved to some other page, and again I came back to the old one and trying to access the element to click for that. So we got stale element exception.
When we try to
You
perform a refresh back, that time we will get that exception.
see, first of all, you need to understand what you meant by stale. See, stale is not fresh. Means that was not a latest one. Usually, if you go for Swiggy app, in the Swiggy app, you ordered a food and then the food is not good. Then you wanted to return it back. So in the help, you will get this stale food. What do you mean by stale food is it is not so good, not so fresh. So that is what stale. Now come back to our exception, stale element. So when it comes for the stale element, the element no longer present in the DOM, but still you are checking for that particular element. So these conditions, when it will happen is when the page get refreshed. So the object will be not there, but still we wanted to refer for that particular object in that particular DOM. Then we'll get this stale element exception. So this is the most frequent. See, now we do have few exceptions, no such element exception, stale element exception. So these are the most frequent exceptions which we will be encountering it. So if you see here, the hierarchy, object, throwable exception, runtime exception, WebDriver exception, stale element exception. So in this stale element exception, so this is what the description, as I told you, so indicates that element is now stale. So the stale is not latest element. The element no longer appears on the DOM page, but still you are referring for that particular object. So then it is called a stale element exception. So now these are the methods available for this. So this is the most important exception which we wanted to identify. Okay, now next one, timeout exception. What is this? Means when you will get this particular exception.
Page load time.
Excellent, excellent. This exception will come when the page load time exception will not work. So this command throws when the page, when the command does not have enough time. Do you remember yesterday when I was talking about waits, I have been given that when you have the page load time, you will be giving the time for that. So if I have given 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, the complete page was not load that particular time, then it will give me the timeout exceptions. So now when the timeout exception comes into the picture, then we need to understand that, boss, the objects are not loaded in the page. Then that's the reason we are getting this page load exception, page timeout exception. So this is how you need to analyze that particular problem statements. And this is what, when you're trying to set the cookies, what do you mean by cookies? So if you don't know cookies, then how you will understand this particular exception? Cookies means, for an example, you will be going means for a okay, I'll take the normal general exceptions. I'll go for a Swiggy. I ordered a biryani. Okay, now when I ordered and then I just came out, and then once again I just went to that application. Still in my cart I'll have that order placed, means order one, means in the basket one will be there. Or okay, rather than Swiggy, you can go for Amazon. In Amazon website, you're trying to buy something, you add to the cart and then you just you came out. But once again you logged into that particular browser, still that particular one will be there. So how it will remember that I have been added this one to the cart? So with the help of the browser cookies, it will be there. Cookies is nothing but it's a file where we'll have a key pair value. Simple. So when the developer is writing this code, so he will be keeping that cookies and he will have a file. In that particular file, he will store all this particular data. Whenever you open that particular browser, it will go to the cookies and you'll get it. So how to delete the cookies? If you go back to your histories and delete this one, it will ask you, do you want me to delete cookies? So if you delete your cookies, then it will all will go. So all your usernames and passwords and everything, wherever you wanted to store, so some key pair values, all things will be stored in the cookies. Unable to set the cookies means when you will get this scenario. If you guys understand the concepts, if you guys really followed my sessions, you will easily answer this one.
Profiles.
Excellent, 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 Ceci. So when you are trying to access your own profiles. Means in Selenium, we do have, right, the profiles concept. By default, it will open a new fresh profile. But when you open a particular profile, you wanted to have all the settings and everything there. So at that point of time, if you're not able to set any particular cookies, then at that point of time, you'll get this particular exception. So see how easy it is now to interlink these particular concepts to the back. So that's where it is very important to learn in a particular hierarchy. We do have a lot of topics, but how to learn the topic and which hierarchy to learn the topic is the most important thing. Okay, now unhandle the alert exception. Name itself, it was saying that I'm not able to handle the alerts, and unsupported the command exceptions. So this is especially for the remote driver exceptions, it will be coming it. So I don't want to discuss more. It might confuse you, and it is not so frequent too. And WebDriver exceptions. So the WebDriver exceptions, which we are talking about it. So now if you see here, so these all the exceptions which you will be having in the Selenium. And you can take this particular reference documentation. So you can keep it here for your reference. Official docs. Okay, you'll get it. The list of these particular exceptions. Now, when you go for this WebDriver, so anyways, this will be having it, but still I'll just copy because this is a parent class, right? Parent, okay, I'll need to write a super class WebDriver exception. Okay, so now here you'll be having that exception also. Okay, now anyways, stale element and all the things you'll be getting it. So now this is what the hierarchy. So now what I understood, what are the exceptions I'll be having it, and what is the hierarchy of this one, when I should use it, how I should use it. So we gone through all these particular things. Now just in this particular tutorial, so they have been given how to handle this particular exceptions also. So now for an example, you'll be handling this one by try catch block. So in the catch block, directly you will be giving this no such element. So the most important thing is you should have the stack trace for this one. What do you mean by stack trace? What do you mean by stack trace?
TD error, application break.
So you guys didn't followed, and in 5 minutes. So you guys didn't followed the exceptions also. So actually in the exceptions, you will be having this track trace, right? So means which line of code you have the error, and what is your parent. Means we have four classes. In the fourth class, if you get it, it will give you from the parent, in the fourth class, the parent class, the parent class, the parent class. It gives you the complete error stack, means from where it spawned, from where to where it's cascaded. So that particular complete stack trace will be printed. And to get the error messages, from where these methods will be coming for us?
In that catch block, we'll get this.
You will be writing that one. See, in the catch block, we will be writing it. For an example, here we have written it, right? E1 dot. What is this exception? Is this means what is this? Not exception type. Here I'll be mentioning it as exception. So exception is a class, and what is this?
Object reference.
That's object reference. So object reference of this will get me this particular methods. So how I'll get this particular methods?
Print stack trace of E.
E1 dot stack trace. Object dot stack.
Boss, I'm asking the same question. You're telling me the same question. I'm asking the answer. So now E dot print stack trace, I'll be getting it. How I'll get that particular method? Which class? This method belongs to which class?
Super class.
What is super class, madam? Name of the super class? Throwable. What is the super class of an exception? See, always
Throwable.
we are discussing here, right? So that is what we wanted to talk about it. So the throwable is a superclass of this. So now from the throwable, you are getting all these particular things. So you guys are not really means implemented the exceptions. By this easily I can understand this. Okay, fine. So now here, so this is how means as I told you, you will get the problem. So how you need to handle the problem. So here they have been given it. So usually what in the frameworks we will be trying to do, we will not give this particular exception. We will give the parent class of this one. So where all the things would be covered. So what is the parent class of this one? No alert present exception.
WebDriver exception.
Excellent. So now directly we'll be giving the WebDriver exception. So the parent class exception will take care of these things. Are we clear? So now if you see here in all the try catch blocks, what they have been given. See now, if you get this no such element exception, so in the no such element exception, you'll be giving this exception name and then exception method. And so here also they are using the particular exceptions by giving the name of that particular exceptions. Using the try catch block, we will try to handle that particular exception. So they have been handled it. Okay. So have you understood what is the point? Means see, now what are the things we have been to give discuss quickly. So first we have been discussed the quick intro, why we need to know about the Selenium exceptions and what are the basic what is a necessity or why it will help for to know the exception. Next we have discussed the quick Java exceptions. So what is an exception and what are the different types of handling of the exceptions. Then we have been even discussed about interlinking, linking Selenium and Java exception. So how these two things have been interlinked. And then we have been taken the list of Selenium exceptions from the Java docs. And even we have been discussed from the top 10 exceptions of the top 10 Selenium exceptions we have been discussed, and we have been gone through the documentation. So these are the things which we have been done for last 1 hour. So now what's the job next? So, unless once again I'm saying it, even I say I know that you guys will not follow, but as that my responsibility, I'm saying it. You guys need to implement this particular thing. Then only you will understand. If you don't understand, if you don't implement this one, you will never understand this one. So that's where I'm keep on saying that. So don't miss to implement this, because really, if you will not understand now, but in interviews definitely these are the questions which the people will ask you to evaluate whether you do have the real-time experience or not. So please be cautious and then try to implement on this particular aspects. Okay, so that's it for today, and